All right, I am officially live and I'm here just a little bit early. Welcome. My name is Uja Wajet, and this is part two of my four-part mini tarot series that I am doing. And the purpose of this tarot training that I'm doing is in preparation for my upcoming workshop, which is happening Sunday on the 22nd of August. And the name of that workshop is Connecting with Tarot Through the Elements of Nature. And it's open to all levels. So even if you've never used tarot before and it's something you've been curious about, something you've been wanting to try, and you want to get guidance and instruction from a mentor in a small group setting, then this workshop is definitely for you. And you can connect with me by dropping a comment in this video, or you can send me a DM either on my Facebook or on Instagram, and the links for those are in the description. And you can also go to my website, and that's also in the description as well. So let's get into this training. If you missed yesterday's video, I'll be sure to link that in the comments as well. I basically talked about how you can use tarot to develop your intuition. So for this video, I'm talking about the pros and cons of reading tarot for yourself. Is it something that you should do? Especially if you're a beginner, if you've never used tarot before, or even if you're kind of in the intermediate stages, what are some of the pros and cons? What are should you actually get a tarot reading before you start using tarot for yourself? These are questions that I've been asked many times before, and I figured this would be a good topic to talk about, because I feel a lot of people that are interested in tarot or curious about it, there's all these questions and these apprehensions and these underlying fears or misconceptions. And I thought this would be a good place to start, especially from my own personal experience with tarot. It's something that I use. I consider it a tool for personal development, for self-discovery, and to develop your intuition. So that doesn't mean that there are not advantages and disadvantages, and I want to be able to cover those. And so I'll share some of my insight there. And then if you have any questions, you can definitely post your questions in the comments, and I will be sure to answer those here live on video. And then if you're catching the replay, be sure to post #replay, and you can still share your questions, and I will cover those as soon as I get an opportunity to do so. So let's talk about reading tarot for yourself. If you are familiar with my channel, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, I stream on both. You might have seen me perform readings for other people. Every month I do a new moon tarot chat. So you might have received a reading from me. And if you have, let me know, right? Let me know what your experience was with that. One of the things there is, do you have to get a reading from someone else in order to, feel comfortable reading for yourself? Or do you feel like you should get some insight about if tarot is right for you through a tarot reading? The hard answer is no. You don't have to get a reading from someone else in order to validate you in some way so you can start reading for yourself. However, it's very common. It's very common to receive a reading before you actually start using cards. It's oftentimes your first introduction to tarot is by getting a reading from someone else. And that's perfectly fine. And you can get a reading from someone with no intention of ever even wanting to read tarot for yourself or wanting to use that for your own for yourself. And then it kind of ends up happening over time because you just kind of generally, not generally, you gradually build interest in using the cards. And that was definitely my experience. Well, I've always felt kind of drawn to it, but I did receive a reading or two before I ever had my first deck, before I even knew that tarot was going to be like a thing in my life. And that's something that I would be doing professionally. So just keep in mind that don't feel like you have to receive a reading from somebody in order to start reading cards for yourself, or to even, to buy your first deck, which I talked about a little bit yesterday, where you don't have to be gifted a deck. You don't have to get a reading from someone to kind of, to justify you buying your own deck or getting cards for yourself. You don't have to do that. So if you've never received a reading, it's okay to never want to have a reading from someone. Maybe you only want, like, you're interested in tarot, you're curious about it, or even oracle cards, right? You're interested in it, but you've never been interested in actually receiving a reading, right? Maybe you like watching other people get readings, but you never really wanted to get a reading. You've never had an interest, but you are interested in using tarot. Like, that's perfectly fine. But it is common to have come across tarot for the first time or learn more about it through receiving a reading for yourself. So either way, it can work for you. And also in a reading, you don't have to ask, like, well, is tarot right for me? You don't have to ask those questions. But if it's something that you want more in-depth insight on, then you can. And I've definitely had clients where have like asked me that question, if it is right for them. And the answer, oftentimes is it depends. Usually what I tell most people is that ask me that question is, what is leading you to tarot in the first place? Is it right for you? It depends on what you're seeking, what you are really wanting to get out of tarot. What are your expectations with tarot? And let me know, whether you're watching live or watching the replay, do you have certain expectations when it comes to tarot? One of the things that tend to come up is, I talked about this a little bit in the last video, is like, tarot is evil, tarot is like the devil's work, tarot is like, satanic cards or whatever, all these different things. And it's definitely not that way. I was raised to think that. And of course, it's a personal choice. So you have to decide if it's something that really, like, what's coming up for you. Are you wanting to use, like, what does tarot need to do for you or provide in order for it to be right for you? That would be the better question, right? What are you hoping to receive from it? So let me say hi to a few of you here. Hey, Lacey, welcome. Greetings. I'm glad you're able to catch me live. Hello, Tangier. Thanks for tuning in live. Hey, Sherry, welcome. I'm glad you all are here. Hey, Lana, welcome. What is going on, y'all? So if you're just tuning in, this is part 2 of a 4-part tarot mini series I'm doing this week in preparation for the workshop that I am hosting on the 22nd of August, which is connecting with tarot through the elements of nature. It's a live workshop. It's virtual, and there are still a few seats left. I'm keeping the group really small, but if you are interested in learning more and seeing if that workshop is a good fit for you, and if you're actually available, because you do have to attend live virtually, then you can send me a message on Facebook or drop a comment on on my YouTube channel, or you can DM me on my Instagram, which is at UjoWajet, to find out if it's a good fit for you. And it's open to all levels, even if you've never used tarot before, or if you're new to tarot, it's definitely something that's open to all levels. And I'll talk more about that a little bit towards the end of the video, more details about the workshop. So I covered, and then also if you have any questions and you're tuning in live, you can post your questions about this topic, if you have any, and then same in the replay, I can catch those comments and your questions a little bit later on. So so I talked about like the first part of, you don't have to get a tarot reading in order to use tarot cards for yourself, but it is quite common to, like, your first experience and awareness of tarot usually starts from a reading, and then it kind of, your interest tends to gradually increase, and then you end up wanting to learn more for yourself. But it's definitely not a prerequisite to using tarot. You don't have to have any interest in wanting to be read by other people to use tarot. So I hope that was helpful. And I definitely, like I shared earlier, the first time I ever got a reading, which I wasn't even though I was always drawn to cards, I never, I was kind of dragged to my first tarot reading by my best friend. She was like, "You're getting this. Like, we're gonna go see this lady." And then never in a million years did I think that I was ever going to, be a professional tarot reader, which is kind of crazy. It still kind of blows my mind. So there's that. And also, so let's go. So this takes me to the next point that I wanted to share, which is, do you have to become a tarot reader? Do you have to like read for other people, become some tarot reader, and like start doing YouTube videos and doing some of the stuff that I do? Like, do you have to do that? Like, is that the goal? Is that like the intention? And no, you don't have to have any intention of wanting to even identify as a tarot reader. And this is a question I've asked some of you all that have already signed up for the workshop or that have been a part of my tarot mentorship program. I've asked, like, well, what do you consider yourself to be when it comes to tarot? Do you consider yourself to be a tarot reader, or like, where are you? Do you consider yourself to be intermediate, novice, advanced? Where are you, right? And what I have found is that most of you do not even identify as a tarot reader. You don't consider yourself a tarot reader, and that's okay. And that doesn't have to be your goal or your interest when it comes to using tarot cards and reading tarot cards for yourself. You can just enjoy tarot or be curious about tarot, or just maybe you have just been feeling this pull towards using some form of some type of tool, some form of divination tool or personal growth tool, and tarot is the thing that kind of interests you, or it keeps kind of showing up. And you're just like, what is this about? I'm just curious about this thing. I just want to learn about it. I don't want to have any titles or commitment to being some person that's like slinging cards. You don't have to have any intention or interest of wanting to read for other people, or to consider yourself or identify yourself as a tarot reader. You can just be someone that enjoys tarot or is curious about tarot. You're just wanting to learn more about it. And you might find out that maybe you're not really interested in it as much as you thought. You might find out that, you know what, I am interested in tarot, but I just prefer to receive tarot readings. And I like to learn about the cards a little bit, but I really don't want to read tarot for myself. I just like hearing other people get readings or receiving readings so I can get more insight. And that's it. Like, that's okay. You might be on the other end where you're just like, okay, I know, like, I have no interest, or that's not even in my radar to, to want to read for other people or to want to be public, put myself out there publicly as, as someone that is interested in tarot. But I do want to kind of dive deep into learning about it, learning about the structure and seeing how I can use this. How can this benefit me? Like, what's in it for me? What is this thing, right? That can be, and that could be it. Nobody has to know. Maybe I will know. If you join one of my workshops, if you join this workshop on Sunday, or if you, I will know, right? And, one of the reasons why I like to keep, when I do like these mentorship workshops and programs, I like to keep the groups really small, because it really, you get to dive deeper. You get more of my attention with it. And it's you don't get lost in a bunch of people, and it's really about you discovering yourself. And I think that if you are curious about tarot, if you have an interest in it, don't feel like you have to turn into some guru. You really don't. But you also might feel called to that, right? You might feel like, okay, I am feeling called to use this to be of service to other people. And that was something that was very much my experience, but not in the beginning. And it's interesting because people would tell me that I have this gift, and that, I even went through a tarot course many months after, like, just using tarot and oracle cards on my own. And the instructor was like, I see you like doing this, like really like doing this, like you have a future with this, or, I like you really have this talent for this, and you're supposed to use. But I was just like, okay, whatever. I didn't really make a big deal out of it. And it took a long time for me to get to the point where I'm at today. But that's something that was just, that was just a part of my path on a larger scale. But that definitely was not my intention or an interest of mine when I first started using tarot, and it definitely doesn't have to be yours. But over time, you might feel like you have this calling, or, even if it's just for friends and just for fun, right? It doesn't have to be some serious business or anything. It could just be something that you do for yourself and for friends and people that, whoever you want to read for. You don't have to do paid readings. It could just be something you do as a hobby, or something you do for people who, whoever you feel led to read for. So you don't have to have any pressure there. However, you might end up on that path of wanting to provide this as a service. And I do feel like it's something that it's a calling, or something you feel really pulled to do. And your intuition will guide you with that. I definitely fought my intuition for a while with that. And I literally got dragged into my first like paid reading. It was a whole thing. So let me go into the comments and let me know if either one of these two tips that I talked about so far, which one you resonate with, and if either one of those are helpful. And then I'll go into some more, some pros and cons and some things to consider. And then I'll go into any questions. Hey, Anita, welcome, welcome. I was led to tarot via a dream. I saw a lighthouse and somehow knew it. Oh, wow. Oh, I saw a tarot card that I knew nothing about in a dream, and it explained exactly what I was going through. I was scared of tarot before that experience. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tangier. My first experience, I had this vision. I kept seeing this certain pattern. It would show up in my dreams. It would just show up even in my waking my waking state. Like, I kept seeing this like image. It wasn't of an actual card. It was of the back of a card. Now, I did not know that at the time. So, but I kept seeing this image, and then I was in this bookstore. I kept hearing, I'll spare all the details, but I ended up with this deck. Um, and I was feeling really drawn to this particular deck. And mind you, when you purchase a deck, most of the time you don't see what the back of the image of the back of the card. You don't know. Um, and so it wasn't until I got home and then a few days later I actually opened the deck and I saw the image of the back of the card, and that image was the image that I had been seeing for like several days. And it was the exact image that was on the card, which was just the back of the card, which is a deck that I use all the time in the New Moon Chats, which is I use these cards to do the chakra card for when we do. It was this deck, and it completely blew my mind. I was like, what is happening? And so it was confirmation for me that it was just confirmation for me, but it really freaked me out. And the same thing happened with my second deck. And again, I had no idea what what the imagery meant. And then once I actually purchased the deck and I saw the back, I was like, oh my gosh. So I felt like this deck right here, and then yeah, my first two decks, that's kind of how it appeared to me. It was the back of the card, and I had no idea until after I purchased it. So that was a fun story. Hashtag story time. But yeah, that totally freaked me out. But that's kind of how I always say tarot found me, and that is one of the things that happened. It was very interesting. It may be drizzled a small little, just a little bit, a little bit of interest in reading for others. Mine wasn't an actual card either. I was trying to condense my story. Okay. It was a lighthouse, but I somehow knew it was referenced to a tarot card. It ended up being the tower card when I looked into it. Beautiful. I was going through a divorce at the time. Wow. I love that. See, and when you get those type of confirmations, that might be a sign that it is time for you to start using tarot for yourself. And just learning about it, right? Because I feel like where a lot of tarot enthusiasts, as I like to call them, and those are like, I consider a tarot enthusiast someone that is interested or curious about tarot, and it's like you don't have to. I feel like there's like this, like, oh, if I start learning about this, there's like this huge commitment, and I'm like stuck in like. I'm gonna get just pulled in and never be able to get, to pull out of this. Like I'm just stuck. And it's like, no, sometimes you might have an experience that leads you to tarot, and maybe it's just for one message or one experience, one confirmation, and then that's it. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to dive deep into one particular experience that's happening in your life, and it's that one situation. And then after that, you really don't have an interest in it anymore. And I have friends, and there's people that I know that they learned over time. It was something very intentional for one experience that they had. It led them to using tarot. But then after that, they realized like that's all they needed it for in that moment or for that experience. And then they didn't need it as much anymore. They really didn't have as much of an interest. And that's okay too. And I feel like no matter where you're at within your journey of self-discovery, of personal growth, of spirituality, wherever you're at, because I feel like it's all kind of, it all merges together at some point. When you are seeking knowledge and awareness, it can come up in so many different ways. And I always encourage you to follow your synchronicities, follow wherever your intuition is guiding you. In your personal life, professional life, love life, right? Wherever it is, see where it leads you, because sometimes you have this interest. It's like, why does this thing keep coming up? Why do I keep hearing about chakras? Why do I keep hearing about this book? Why do I keep seeing this image? Why does that keep coming up? And it's like, see where it takes you. There might be one thing that you need, and that's it. And you got that nugget of information, you got that aha moment, and maybe you needed to pivot, and it was just that one piece of information that you needed to take you into that next direction, so you can pivot, or so you can shift something, or so you can see things clearer. I feel like that's really important. And explore your curiosity, whether it's tarot, whether it's oracle cards, whether it's whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter. I feel like, see where it leads you, because there's probably something there for you to be reminded of, something to trigger a memory, or to allow you to kind of tap into something, or to help you shift into one way or another, or expand, or to step back. So I always encourage you to explore your curiosity. Let's see what else we have here. I'm having trouble reconciling within myself that I'm not doing anything wrong by practicing tarot. How did you overcome this in your journey? That is a great question. So, I definitely experienced that, of feeling like I was, because of my upbringing and kind of being conditioned to believe that tarot is evil and wrong and the devil's work and all this other stuff. And I grew up, I was raised Christian. And that's not the only, religious upbringing that, that believes those things. I think really just depends on wherever you're at. I'll say this, wherever you're at in your journey of your spirituality and your values and your morals, right? Because there comes a point where what you were conditioned to believe versus what you feel to be true, versus like you growing into your, like, who you truly are, there's going to be some resistance, there's going to be some conflict, there's going to be some information or some feelings or situations that no longer, they create this kind of conflict. And it's an opportunity for you to explore, like, okay, do I believe this is wrong? So that's one of the first questions I ask myself, like, do I believe this is wrong? Well, I was told that it was wrong, but do I believe this to be true now? This is something that I believed at one point because that's what I was told. And I accepted that to be true. I accepted that to be right, because I didn't know anything beyond that. And I trusted the person, the people, the environment that I was in, right? That they had my best interest, or that, I didn't have anything to combat it with. So one of the things that I did to start to overcome my journey with, like, that inner conflict of exploring who I am outside of the constraints of religion, and what I was conditioned to believe. And I say that conditioned to believe because not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just a thing. It's like I was raised to believe certain things. This is what I was taught. And I had to acknowledge that I accepted that as truth, because I trusted the people and the environment and the situation, and I didn't have anything to compare it to, I had no reason to disagree with it, right? So it was an unconscious agreement. But then there came a point where these unconscious agreements and these things that I didn't have a reason to disagree with it or to go against it, right? But now these things were starting to come up when it came to tarot and just my spirituality in general, just who I was as a person. So not even just with tarot, with other things, right, in my life and who I am. So I had to ask that question of that and realize I said yes to this, or I agreed to this unconsciously, or because I didn't know any better or know enough, or really have time to figure out like what my true opinion of it was versus what somebody was telling me. And so ask yourself, and I encourage you to ask yourself this question right now. And if you feel comfortable sharing it, sharing what comes up for you, please do. If not, that's perfectly fine. You can send me a DM if you want to share. If not, that's fine too. But ask yourself, does this feel wrong to me now? Does this feel wrong based on what I used to believe? Does this feel wrong based on my current beliefs? What are my current beliefs now? And that was one of the things I had to realize too. Overcoming my own resistance of my limiting beliefs, of my or what I was conditioned to believe, right? I was outgrowing myself. And one of the most intense things of self-discovery, personal growth, spiritual growth, intuitive development is that birth, that death and rebirth, like that shedding of your old self, of your the concepts, the thoughts, the belief systems that you had. You challenge yourself with your own as you expand and as you grow as a person, as a spiritual being, right? Professionally. Like, think about with science, certain science, right? It's things are proven as true or as fact based on the information they have at the time. And then when they have more information, what was true can change based off the new information, right? Or sometimes it can change or it can shift. There's more because now you have more to go. Now you have more information. You have more experience. You have more technology or whatever. And it's the same thing with us as human beings in our life. Think about in your career. Think about school. You know what you know at a certain grade level. Then you go into the next grade level, and then you learn more, and so your perspective changes, or it expands, or what you thought was true now it's slightly different because you have more information, you have more experience. And I believe it's the same thing when it comes to your beliefs, what was considered wrong versus right. And what I've learned is it wrong? Is it right? Or is it just based on your perspective of it, right? I hope that was helpful. Let me know what comes up for you. I hope I answered your question. A kind of long answer, but there was a lot to unpack there when it comes to how I overcame my journey with it. And that's still ongoing. There's still things like, okay, I was like, wait, here's an unconscious agreement that I had that I didn't even realize that I had. Sometimes you don't even know what if it's an unconscious agreement, you don't even realize that like, oh, this is something that I didn't have to challenge this because I never had to think about it, or I never was in a situation or experience that made me kind of question who I am being, or what I am meant to do, or what I feel pulled to do. And that's an indicator of growth. So you have an opportunity to determine, like, okay, this was wrong then, based off of where I was at in my life at that point, based off of what I believed, what I allowed myself to believe consciously and unconsciously. Is that true for me now? And if it still feels wrong, if it still feels wrong right now, am I willing to explore it anyway to make sure? Am I willing to work through that resistance? Is it wrong or is it different? Is it wrong or is it fear? And this is something when it comes to reading tarot or doing, anything that's just different from what you're used to. A lot of fear can come up, or fear of how people will perceive you, fear of judgment, and fear of fear of the unknown, like what's going to happen, fear of not knowing what the finish line is going to look like. And it's like you can't see the finish line until you take the first step. You got to just keep following it, right? So that is something where you can start to look at, is it still worth exploring, even if it still feels wrong? Be curious about why it's wrong. Is it wrong because of what I used to believe, or is it something that I still believe now, or is it based off of I haven't fully articulated what I believe to be true, and you still working through that? Because that's a part of the journey. You're constantly evolving, and it's okay to challenge your own beliefs. I feel like a lot of people get stuck in. I've seen a lot of people get stuck in, okay, well, this is what I believe, and now that I've had these experiences, like, I'm only going to believe this. Then you're stifling your own growth. There's nothing wrong with exploring something different and then being like, okay, I've experienced this, I've explored this, and I realize, you know what, this is not, it's different, but no, now that I have this experience, I'm realizing, like, maybe this isn't wrong, but it's just not for me. Or maybe I felt like this is wrong because of what other people thought or felt, but I no longer believe that to be true anymore. Or maybe I'm just not sure about it, and I'm willing to explore it, as I feel led to. And just don't put any pressure on yourself. I definitely have a different feeling about tarot than I did before. I did grow up in a Christian family, but they were not your typical strict Christian household. So I was lucky to be able to explore without totally being 100% judged. I still kind of kept it to myself, but not so much where it had to be a complete secret. But today I'm more open about it. You're more open about it. And that's what drives me to learn more about it. That is great, Lana. I love that. And yeah, I think, that keeping it to the secret, keeping it a secret, or keeping it to yourself. Like, sometimes it could just be your own thing. And I think it's great that you're at a point where you are more open about it. And even for myself, for me, it was just my own personal thing. It was like, this is just a me thing. It was about me. And it was a while before I even told, like, before I started telling my friends. I was like, okay, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. Sometimes you just don't know what the hell you're doing. And you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know how to defend myself if somebody says that, tries to judge me or throw shade or whatever. I don't know how to defend myself. I can't, like, because I'm still not sure of what's happening. But I know that I'm just trying this thing out, and I'm just out here in these streets, in these tarot streets, trying to figure it out. And if you are in that space, then, sometimes it can feel very scary. It can feel very lonely. It can feel very intimidating, which is another reason why I like to keep my groups small, because it's just like, it can be a lot. And it can take time. And sometimes, no matter what it is, right, you need time to explore and figure it out what feels true for you before you share it with other people. Sometimes you need a bit more, you need some guidance or some clarity, which is why I mentioned in the first thing that I shared about, do you have to get a reading for somebody else, or like see other readings? It's like, no, you don't have to know anything else more other than you're just curious about this thing. But for some people, it's helpful, or it kind of drives that kind of interest into learning more and seeing kind of how it can show up for you. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. You are welcome, Sherry. You are welcome. So we have talked about some of the pros and cons, and I answered some of your questions. Let me know if you have any more questions. And another thing here. So I've been sharing some of the benefits and things to consider. Here's another thing. When it comes to reading tarot for yourself, a place, an area where you could get stuck is your interpretations of the cards, and only being caught up in the definitions versus like what you are feeling intuitively. And I talked about, I went more in depth about how you can use tarot to develop your intuition, and you can use that as a tool. And I was kind of breaking down like 3 different areas: the mind versus the emotions versus feeling and intuition. And I feel one of the, a pro versus a con in reading for yourself, especially as a beginner, is when it comes to the interpretations, kind of overthinking the interpretations, or depending too much on the definitions. And I want to encourage you, like, it's almost like, okay, no, like I can only go by what this book says in the definition versus, oh, well, I'm feeling this, or this is what's kind of coming up, or I'm seeing these images, or I'm picking up on, my intuition is kind of showing me this in this way. And I feel like people can get stuck there. So that can be a con when it comes to not allowing yourself to actually trust your intuition, which is why I'm such an advocate for that, and why, like, the way that I teach and mentor others with learning tarot is I use developing your intuition as the foundation. And I always say, I like to say mentorship, because it's not me telling you what to do. I'm really helping you find, like, I am showing you certain things, but and based off my experience, but it's really about me helping you learn to trust your intuition and learn how to operate that within the structure and the framework of tarot, right? So in these workshops and in the mentorship program, we're just using the structure and framework of tarot, so I can help you kind of develop your intuition, along with looking at, how you can operate that within the structure. And again, tarot is one of many ways that you can develop your intuition, and it's just a fun way to explore. And so with this upcoming workshop that's happening Sunday, the 22nd, and that's from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central. It's a 4-hour workshop, virtual. You do have to attend live virtually via Zoom. But I'm showing you how to connect with tarot through the elements of nature, right? We're not going to be focusing on definitions. We're going to be focusing on the elements of nature, which is spirit, water, fire, earth, and air. And I'm going to show you how you can interpret tarot through those elements. So we're not going to be talking about definitions. I will be sharing kind of like a mini guide for that, for those that are very new, but really the focus is going to be the elements and your intuition. So it's just a new way to interpret tarot. And I think it's great if you're new or you're wanting to learn in a different way, and not focus as much on diving into all the definitions versus like just seeing tarot through a different lens. So if that's something that you're interested in, then and you are available on the 22nd, which is a Sunday, the 22nd of August, from 2 p.m. Central to 6 p.m. Central, which is 12 to 4 Pacific time, and 3 to 7 Eastern, then definitely send me a message so we can see if you are a good fit for the workshop. It also comes with, you will get access to a Facebook group. It'll be a pop-up Facebook group that I'll have open for 45 days. And that way you'll have an opportunity to practice what you've learned in that workshop. And I'm also going to be mailing you a journal, a tarot journal that I have created, and you will have that as well. And you'll be able to kind of use that as well over the course of that 45 days, or even after that. But you don't have to use that journal, but you'll get that as a gift as well. So if that's something you're interested in and you are available during that time, then send me a message on, you can DM me on Facebook or on Instagram. And then we can hop on a quick call and we can talk about it. I can go over any questions with you and see if you're interested in investing in the workshop. Let me see. So I would love to know, do you all have any more questions, or do you feel, was this helpful when it comes to like some of the pros and cons? Which one do you feel really stuck out for you the most? Which one do you resonate with the most? So I talked about when it comes to using tarot cards for yourself, like, should you get a reading from somebody before you actually use tarot? And I kind of talked about that. And, should you, or like, is it necessary? We talked about where you might get stuck with reading tarot when it comes to, oh, well, I have to be this tarot reader in order to read tarot. And it's like, no, you really don't have to be. You don't have to have an intention there. And we also talked about one of the things when it comes to interpreting the cards, like where you might get stuck and what could be a potential con is you especially as a new reader, is you're staying in the lines of the definitions versus actually using your allowing your intuition to be the foundation, and then having tarot be the framework and the structure that you operate in, but you want your intuition to have, to be the foundation. At least that is my approach. There are other readers out there that might have a very different approach, and there really is there's no wrong way. You have to find what works best for you and what you feel guided to do. And the things that I share and that I teach are based on my experience. And I've been doing this for several years. So everything that I talk about and I teach is based off of the experience and what I have actually done throughout the years. And I feel like that's really important, especially when it comes to your confidence level. And that's another part, right? So being at a point where you not only are you're kind of stuck in where you might get stuck is the definitions and kind of feeling intimidated by that, then you second guess your intuition. And that also kind of leads to you not being as confident in, trusting the messages that you're getting. And and especially if you have multiple cards. If you're pulling more than one card, you might get lost in like what you're actually seeing, what it really means, what is the story, the message that's coming up. And also when it comes to confidence of having multiple cards, but then also maybe even using multiple decks, or even the type of tarot spreads that you should use, not using the right spread based off of the information you're seeking, and also like not asking the right questions, which is something I'll talk about in another video of like, well, what type of questions should you ask? Which is a place where I hear like people tend to get stuck. So that can kind of be a pro versus a con. It's like, well, how do I know I'm asking the right questions? How can I start to build that confidence? And this is where having, being in a group setting or having some mentorship can be helpful to, even if you're doing, just doing some course online. There are a lot of tarot courses and stuff like that online. One of the things with that though, is you don't have that interaction with an actual person. There's someone that's, it's pre-recorded content, which is fine. And everybody has a different way of learning. One of the reasons why I prefer to have my workshops and my mentorship programs in, live in person, like in real time, because when you are in using tarot, when you are using tarot, you're kind of in the moment of it. And sometimes you're not knowing what's coming up until you're in it. And I think being able to get that feedback, that immediate feedback, and ask those questions and have someone that has experience, like, kind of showing you like, oh, okay, I see kind of where you're being held up at. And this is kind of, oh, I see you're kind of holding back here, or you're getting stuck here. You get that feedback quite like immediately. You're not just kind of passively learning, but you're learning actively. And anywhere you're getting stuck, you can get that confirmation, or you can get that, that information that you need to kind of pivot or shift. So you can keep moving forward. It's easier for you to build more confidence when you have someone that's actually guiding you or there to assist you and support you. And I feel like that's really important. I've noticed that's something that is missing in a lot of, when you have courses out there. But there's nothing wrong with having buying like an online course. But I think something either in person or in real time, you just get there faster. I personally believe that you get there faster. I know that you get there faster because now you're not stuck into, oh, well, what should I do there? And now I have to wait till this happens. And I think getting that immediate feedback will help you build your confidence, especially as a new or novice reader. And those questions that come up for you, you get the answers a lot faster, and then you can just move forward. We get in our way so often, not just with tarot, but with everything. And as a coach, I consider myself to be an intuitive self-development coach, along with being an online personal trainer and spiritual mentor. And through those different ways, like when you have that support and that accountability to just get you out of your own way, you just get there faster, just expedite the process, right? So if you're wanting to get out of your own way, if you're wanting to kind of dive deeper into tarot, or I would say expand. I wouldn't say it's a super deep dive, but it's definitely a different perspective, and one that can help you build your confidence. It can help you develop your intuition in a new way, learn more about tarot without having to focus so much on the definitions and memorizing, versus using your intuition as a foundation. And if you're wanting to be in a more of a really small group of people and you're wanting that guidance, then definitely my workshop could be very helpful for that. Or yeah, finding even a close-knit type of community or a group of friends, that could be helpful as well. So something to think about. So let me know what was helpful for you. And let me know if you have any other questions. But what was your biggest aha from the things that we covered today? Yes, I'm not sure what you're saying yes to, but I'm saying yes right back to you, Lacey. I was too busy going on. Hey, AV, this live stream, I'm not doing any readings. This is a live training that I'm doing for those that are interested in learning more about tarot or wanting to read tarot for themselves. However, if you are interested in getting a reading, what you can do, once a month, I do host a live stream called New Moon Tarot Chat. Once a month, I do live readings. And that's something where if you're interested in wanting to be a part of that, then you can join my email list, or you can also subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook. Since you're watching on Facebook, you can follow me on Facebook on my business page, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, and which is Ujo Wajet, and you can tune in once a month. It happens on or around the new moon. Hello, Cornelia. So that's when I offer live readings, but there is no guarantee that you'll be selected. I pick at random. And if you're interested in a private reading, you can message me, and that will be an investment on your part. But if you want a private reading, you can do that as well. But if you, and I'll also post the link to my email list. I think that's in the description. If you look at the description of this video, AV, I hope I'm saying your name properly. You can also join my email list, because I send an email out to notify you when I'm doing the new moon readings, and they're fun. So you should join. Okay, we have another question. What do you think about Kipper deck? I think Kipper decks are very interesting. I have one, and I have not done a deep dive into it. But what I do love about Kipper is I like the I feel like it's very straightforward. So I really love that about the Kipper decks, and I think it's a fun way to get a very straightforward answer. I love the system of it compared to tarot. It's different from tarot, but you can get just as much insight and feedback from it. And there are a ton of Kipper decks out there. Okay, you'll send me a message. Great. Yeah, for any of you that are interested in wanting to connect with me, either for the workshop that I have coming up on Sunday, the 22nd, then definitely message me and we'll see if it's a good fit. So I don't want you to make an investment if it's not a good fit for you, so we can hop on a quick call or and see if the workshop is a good fit for you. You love to work with Kipper. Yeah, I think Kipper is fun. I do have one deck, and I think it's fun to explore. And, you know, it's something where I have a couple of, see, you know, Cornelia, I already have like almost 60 tarot decks. And, you know, Kipper, I have this one Kipper deck. And I see these other decks that I'm wanting that's Kipper, but I'm like, okay, let me dive deeper into Kipper first before I go splurging on Kipper. But I definitely think it's fun to work with. Oh, Lacey, you just purchased a Kipper deck. Yeah, I think it's very straightforward, and I really like it. It almost reminds me of a um, it reminds me, like, I feel like when I think of Kipper, I think of like a puzzle, and you get to see these kind of pieces come together with it. So I think that's really cool. You never heard of a Kipper deck? Yeah, you should Google it, check it out. It is interesting. I think all forms of, um, and I'll be doing like a tarot versus oracle video as well. But there's so many different types of decks out there and different systems. Um, and I think a natural kind of evolution from tarot is exploring the different styles of decks, um, and the different interpretations, the different systems out there. So tarot is not the only system. And I think it's fun to learn. So you might get to that point, a pro/con, when it comes to reading tarot for yourself and learning these different tools. You start to learn other tools, learn about other tools, and you get to see the differences. You get to see kind of how you can use Kipper, tarot, oracle. You kind of bring these things together and have this co-creation with these different systems, and to kind of see what comes up for you. So I think it's really fun. And fun fact, I will be next month. So I'm doing this tarot workshop this month. Next month, I'm going to be doing a pendulum workshop. So that's coming up. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Straightforwardness was what I was looking for. Yeah, Kipper will definitely give you that. That's what I like about, Kipper deck, the story that it brings in a reading. Yes, I love that. And let me know, Cornelia, what Kipper decks do you have? Tarot as a gateway to divination. It is. Yes, it is. It really is. And I'm telling you, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, I already have so many tarot decks and oracle decks, like, and I'm like, okay. I was like, no, I need to calm down for now. I need to calm down for now, temporary. I feel like with Rider, I have to clarify a lot, but I'm still a baby in it. Yeah, and that's something you'll learn, and like what I was saying earlier about, you might realize and learn that, okay, this system is maybe like Anita was saying, it's the gateway, right? You might realize that maybe tarot isn't for you as much as you thought it was, or maybe you're more drawn to oracle, or you might find a whole different system that you really enjoy more so than the other. For me, the more I learned about tarot and I started learning about other systems that were out there, it just made me more interested in learning about different systems. And then you might find one that's your favorite, right? But like for me, like I love oracle cards. I love tarot just as much as I love oracle, and I love them for different reasons. And I oftentimes use them together. But then same thing with pendulums and with Kipper, with other styles of decks. There's runes. You have all these different systems out there, and maybe tarot is a thing that leads you to something else. But either way, I feel like just see where your intuition leads you, because you never know what that next step is. You have a pendulum too? Yes. Yeah, I have a pendulum workshop coming up, and I also have a pendulum video on my YouTube channel where I did like a live stream on that. So yeah, I'm lying in bed. My decks are downstairs. Okay, well, no worries. I want some oracles too. Yeah, I have a ton. So, and you'll definitely see some of those. You've definitely seen them if you've watched any of my New Moon Tarot chats. And when it comes to the upcoming workshops, I like to share, usually in my workshops, and in my my mentorship programs, I'll share other decks that I have. And I do walkthroughs of those decks. So that's something that I'll definitely be doing in that group. For those of you that do join, but again, this group is going to be really small. So it will be, that's where I like to kind of share my walkthroughs. Yesterday I was saying that I have all these decks and I want to do deck reviews, and I do them, but I'm not sure if I want to have my deck reviews be public or for something I just want to share with those like that join like the mentorships and stuff like that. So I'm kind of torn there. So we'll see if I ever do public ones. But for now, that's kind of where I do like my walkthroughs and share some of the things that I have. I agree. Tarot was the tipping point for me. I still have a list of other divination tools I want to explore. Yes, yes. You and me both. You and me both. And I'm telling you, listen, Anita, you already know. You know how I get so caught up in it. But it's so good. And I think it's just such a great opportunity to just learn about what else is out there. I think no matter, one thing that fascinates me, and I guess I'll wrap it up with this because we're at the slightly over an hour mark. But what fascinates me is how when we have these different systems, you get to see some of the common factors, right? The commonalities. You get to see the differences. You get to see how certain cultures based on the culture, based on the belief system or whatever, you see like where those similarities are, you see how it's different. And you really just get to, I'll say it for myself, like that's what I see. And it makes me just respect and really appreciate the similarities and the differences. And you get to see like, oh, okay, you see some certain patterns or certain numbers or certain ways that things are interpreted. And I think it's really beautiful to be able to expand your knowledge and awareness on what else is out there and seeing how other cultures, how other systems interpret certain things and what they use and what their concepts are. Like I always say I'm a student and a teacher. And I love being a student, being a lifelong learner and seeing what else I can learn. So anytime I buy a new deck, Cornelia says she has lots of decks, or yes, runes, pendulums, all the things, right? It's so interesting. I love to see the artistry. I love the cultural connections, the historical connections. I love to learn about those things because all it does is just help me expand my awareness. And I can decide like, you know what, this resonates with me, or you know what, this doesn't resonate with me so much. So in yesterday's video, I kind of talked about, one of the questions came up, like, how do you know if a deck resonates with you or a certain system? You won't really know until you try it sometimes. So sometimes it's trial and error, but you never know where it leads you. Like, I didn't think that, tarot led me to learning more about Lenormand decks and, just other systems. So I think it's something that it's fun. For me, it's fun. So all I can do is get you to the point where, you know what, I'm down for this, or this is interesting, or okay, I've learned something, and you can take what you want from that and move on. So I'm going to wrap up this live stream. I would love to know from you all, what was your biggest takeaway, or what did you appreciate most? What stuck out to you the most about this today's live stream? What's your biggest takeaway? I would love to learn that. I would love for you to share that if you're open to it. And then we will conclude. It is interesting. I feel like really, convert. I think you mean converting. Like I'm really converting to the other side. I really feel like when you get to expand, one of the things so I talked about kind of fear and limiting beliefs. When you learn more, right? When you work through your fear, oh, you're conversing with the other side. Oh yeah, trust me. Look, the typos be happening for me too. Sometimes it's that damn autocorrect or whatever, and you're trying to type something, and then your thumb slips, and so I totally get it. Oh, conversing with the other side. Yeah, absolutely. You can use these tools to communicate with other, you can, and I think that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, you definitely can, absolutely, and I have. So. And if you've watched any of my new moon tarot chats, you've seen it happen when I've done reading for other people. So sometimes other beings come through, or ancestors or spirit guides. So that is a thing. But yeah, I would love for you to share your takeaways and of what stuck out to you the most from this live stream. And let me share. So I'm going to be going live again tomorrow. I'll be going again. I'll be going live again tomorrow evening at the same time, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, which is 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. And if you're interested in learning more about my upcoming workshop and you want to know if it's a good fit for you, you don't have to commit right away, but I can share with you what more details about it, and you can see if it's a good fit. But one requirement is you do have to be available on Sunday, the 22nd of August, from 2 p.m. Central to 6 p.m. Central. So it's a 4-hour live workshop, and then you will have access to a Facebook group for 45 days. And you will also get I will mail you a tarot journal as well. A tarot journal that I have created, and we get to work through this. So it's connecting with tarot through the elements of nature. So we're going to be focusing on, I'll be showing you how to interpret tarot through the elements of spirit, fire, water, earth, and air. And yeah, you'll get that mentorship from me in a real life setting with a small group. And you'll have time to work through what you've learned. And I'm also going to I have created 5 tarot spreads for this as well. So you'll get those. Those will also be in the journal, but we are going to work through those in the workshop. And you'll have time to explore those. And you'll get to hang out with me. You have access to me for 45 days as well. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Send me a message. You can DM me on Facebook. You can drop a comment if you're on if you are on YouTube. You can also DM me on Instagram, and here's the link to my Instagram. It's at UjoWajet. And if that's easier, you can DM me there, and we can hop on a quick call and see if this is a good fit for you. I would not have you invest in the workshop if it does not feel like it would be a good fit. If I don't think it's a good fit for you, and if it doesn't feel right for you. All right, but if it is, I can definitely answer your questions, and we can go from there. But I will be here tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, with another live training in preparation for this upcoming workshop. So I hope that you are gaining value from this. And if you didn't catch yesterday's video, be sure to tune into that. And other than that, I will see you all tomorrow. All right. Bye.